In today's video, I've got 5 facts about Saber of Red from Fate Apocrypha. I'll be covering her OP Noble Phantasm Claret Blood Arthur, how she was the crown achievement of Type Moon, and more. And hey, if you're new here, why not join the 4-on-4 community by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a video. And just to add that this video will contain spoilers, so if you haven't finished Fate Apocrypha, then please come back later. So, with that being said, let's roll intro and get straight into the video. Saber of Red's true identity is Mordred, infamously known as the Knight of Treachery and, of course, as we all know, the secret son of King Arthur. She was the Saber class servant of the Red faction, whose master was Chiari Sisigo. And did you know that Mordred was originally intended to be male while retaining the female appearance? The only reason they kept her female was because they had already done this with Rider of Black and thought that it would be weird to have 2 characters with the same trait. Trap fans are gutted, I'm sure. Mordred stands at 154 centimeters, which makes her 5 foot, and she weighs 92.5 pounds. Now, that time again, the important stuff. That's right, Mordred's 3 sizes. Her bust is 28.7 inches, her waist is 20.8 inches, and her hips 29.9 inches. Nice. Mordred, of course, has long blonde hair that she wears in a ponytail, and her eyes are an enticing shade of green. Attire-wise, in battle she is covered head to toe in that thick armour, comboed with one of the most awesome helmets I've ever seen. But I'll go, a bit more into depth about the helmet a bit later. Of course, while she materialised in public, she wore a tube top that pretty much showed off everything. Nice. A crimson red leather jacket, and the smallest of the smallest ever denim shorts. Thank you, Fate. It's easy to see why Mordred is a popular fan favourite, but did you know that the creator Takashi Takeuchi actually claims Mordred to be the crown achievement of the Type Moon culture? I know. Mordred was certainly befitting of the Saber class during this Grail War, just like her father in the Grail Wars she took place in. Firstly, let's talk about Saber of Red's parameters during the Great Holy Grail War. And in case you didn't know, parameters are the heroic spirit's stats under their respective masters. So, here are all of Mordred's stats, courtesy of the Fate Apocrypha material book released in August of 2015. So her parameters under Chiari were strength at a B+ rank, endurance an A rank, agility and mana both a B rank, luck a D rank, and her noble phantasm was an A rank. Next up are her class skills. These are granted upon their summoning and are usually a reflection of the abilities they had in life, though if the spirit didn't have this skill in their own time, because of the class that they were summoned as, they would get a lower ranking of that skill. So Mordred's class skills were magical resistance at a B, and then riding once again a B rank. Finally, after that are personal skills. These are pretty much self-explanatory, but these skills are given to them that were actually a reflection of their abilities in their lifetime. So, Mordred's personal skills were Instinct at a B rank, Mana Burst an A rank, Battle Continuation a B rank, and then Charisma was a C- rank. The standout skill there for anyone that is a fan of Artoria Pendragon, well, for me anyway, was the Mana Burst ability. This is something she, I guess, would have inherited. Anyway, this ability allows Mordred to exchange a huge amount of magical energy for strength, which, in my opinion, complements her fighting style perfectly. This allowed her to move at super fast speeds and increased her strength significantly, allowing her to stand against and even overwhelm opponents superior in strength to her. And in Fate, we actually saw her use the ability to jump to the very top of a building in a single leap. And, of course, with ease, I may add. The force of this jump was also enough to completely take out a mob of enemies beneath her, even that of a military tank. Now, one thing that really stood out about Mordred, to me anyway, particularly when comparing her style of fighting to Artoria's, was the difference in code or chivalry, or, lack thereof in Mordred's case. When reading up about this, I simply found the best description of her style. Just sums it up so well. So here's my interpretation of it anyway. There was no beauty of swordsmanship, no elegance that you'd expect of a knight, no, just the rampage of a wild beast. It's just so true, right? As well as that, Mordred would wield her two-handed sword with a single hand, not as a sign of strength nor style, but so that she could use the other hand to punch her opponent in the face. Heck, sometimes she'd just throw her sword at the opponent. She was definitely a victory by any means type of person, be it with a sword or simply punching, kicking, and even biting. A win is a win, I guess. And because of this, I can certainly see Mordred fitting the Berserker class quite well as well. Next up is Saber of Red's Noble Phantasms. The first is called Secret of Pedigree. This C-rank Noble Phantasm is Mordred's helmet, also known as the Helm of Hidden Identity. Before anything else, doesn't this helm just look totally insane? Its look enough, to be fair, is, more than likely enough to shake fear into anyone that opposes her. But anyway, this helm was given to her by her mother, Morgan Le Fay, and is basically an item used to conceal Mordred's identity, parameters, skills, lineage, and true name, hidden in fact even from her current master. On receiving the helmet as well, Morgan told her that she must not remove it, to which she didn't until her final fight against her father. And what's awesome about this helm is that, as previously mentioned, her stats and data are all concealed while the helmet is set, and that's the important part. She can remove the helmet, but while it is set in her armor or storage, all data cannot be read. Think of it as like a game's inventory, setting a helmet that significantly boosts your stats but just looks awful, so you can hide it while still equipped. That's, basically how she could still conceal herself in the modern day attire while manifested. However, even when set, if Mordred was to wield her sword, all of her stats can then be read. Also, in order to use her main noble phantasm, Clarent Blood Arthur, the helmet must be removed to activate it, revealing her face and true identity. Then next up is, also a C-ranked noble phantasm. This is called Clarent. Clarent is basically Mordred's sword, also known as Clarent, Radiant and Brilliant Royal Sword. And, just like her helm, this sword looks so cool. I personally, really love this design. This sword is said to act as the symbol that declares its owner the right to succession of the throne. This white-silver sword is described as more dazzling than any silver, and in worth, it is also said to match or even exceed that of Caliburn. This sword was originally stored away by Artoria in Camelot until Mordred stole it for her own. She broke into the vaults of Camelot during her rebellion, where she temporarily seized the claiming of the throne. And as you can imagine, wielding this sword raises Mordred's parameters, and in particular, her charisma skill. However, because she took this for herself and was never acknowledged as a successor, let alone king, the sword's B rank was reduced to a C, meaning she receives little raise in her overall stats. So, what Mordred did was inject her burning hatred into the blade using the mana burst ability inherited from Artoria. Doing so amplified the blade's weakened strength, allowing her to use her main noble phantasm, Clarent Blood Arthur. Which, of course, we now move on to that main noble phantasm that I've, name dropped twice now. But for the record, this A-rank noble phantasm is called Clarent Blood Arthur, Rebellion Against My Beautiful Father. Now, in terms of how awesome you'd want an all-out powerful attack to look, this certainly takes it, and to add, this is basically what this noble phantasm is, one all-out strike of utter hatred. I briefly mentioned it when talking about Clarent, but I'll explain it a bit more in detail here. So, what she would do, Mordred would take her stance. The helmet Secret of Pedigree is then removed, as it is one of the conditions upon using this noble phantasm. Once that is done, using Mana Burst, Mordred channels every last ounce of bitter, twisted hatred for her father, then stains this once pure and beautiful blade with a violent red aura. It's said that the sound of the blade transforming is to be furious and very, very violent. The sword itself now looks like something that, should be wielded by a demon, rather than a pure successor to the throne. Coming out of the sword now is a huge radiant blood red beam with crimson lightning resonating around the blade and the beam. Once charged enough, she raises the sword above her head and with all her strength swings the blade downward, shooting the built-up beam of hatred into a straight line, destroying absolutely everything within its path. And as you can imagine, using this noble phantasm requires a humongous amount of energy, and in the process, Mordred's body is put through intense pain. So much so that she actually relies on her master to give her enough strength just to move immediately after using it. Crazy, crazy stuff. Mordred had separate voice actors for Fate Apocrypha and Fate Stay Night, but because of her very minor role in Fate Stay Night, I'll concentrate only on the voices behind Mordred in Fate Apocrypha. So, Mordred's Japanese voice actress is Miyuki Sawashiro. She has voiced other characters such as Saiko Busujima in High School of the Dead, Celty Sturluson from Durarara, Sinon in Sword Art Online 2, Bishamon from Noragami, and many more. Then we've got Mordred's English voice actress, that is Erica Lindbeck. She has voiced other characters such as Eli Ayase in Love Life School Idol Project, Kaide Makidera from Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, Kaori Miyazono in Your Light in April, Jericho from The Seven Deadly Sins, and more. Mordred, as we know, was a homunculus clone of Artoria Pendragon, conceived in secret between Artoria and Morgan Le Fay, in secret to Artoria's knowledge at least anyway. This situation is both a weird and kind of confusing one, but basically by means of Merlin's magecraft, he was able to turn Artoria into a pseudo-male, meaning that she was capable of creating sperm so that she could one day create an heir. So how does Morgan fit in with this? Using a spell, she was able to extract some of Artoria's sperm and develop it within her own ovaries. Now, because Mordred was a homunculus, she had a much faster growth rate than that of a normal human being. However, the downside was that her lifespan was also much shorter. So, of course, Mordred was raised in secret and was told to hide her true identity and obey her king until the time was right. Of course, Mordred's true identity was kind of revealed to her by her mother, that she would one day defeat the King of Knights and take her place on the throne as Artoria's successor. However, she held back the important matter of Artoria being her father. Now, how did Mordred feel about this? On one hand, she held the same dream as her mother, but on the other hand, she felt ashamed of her existence and held a jealousy towards normal people. Her feelings towards Artoria, though, were nothing short of admiration for the, quote, perfect king, despite this fate her mother wanted for her. Soon, she was handed the helmet I spoke of earlier and was inducted as one of the Knights of the Round Table. This was through her mother's own recommendation and her outstanding presentation of swordsmanship. Mordred was perfect for this role. She held the ideals of a knight close to her and worked hard every day to become the perfect knight. Soon, everything would change. Mordred always had like a childlike innocence about her, but this was soon about to completely shatter. Morgan felt, now was the time to reveal the secrets of her birth to her, and Mordred learned her father's true identity. Artoria. She also learned that Artoria had no knowledge of this either, and though Mordred was completely shocked to hear this all unravel before her, she couldn't help but feel proud and also really happy. Though she wasn't a proper human being, she felt that by blood, by name, by all the skill and hard work she'd possessed, she was the only one fit enough to be the true successor to the King of Knights. Filled with this joy, Mordred of course didn't have any thoughts about rebellion. All she wanted was recognition from her father, the king she worshipped. Filled to the absolute brim with this new emotion, she confronted the king with this newfound delight, only for Artoria to completely reject her. Artoria said that though she was born from her and from Morgan's plotting, she would not recognize her as her son, nor any right to the throne. As you can imagine, this of course broke Mordred. No matter how hard Mordred tried, no matter how much she excelled over others, because of Artoria's hate for Morgan, Mordred would always be viewed as a dirtied child. Over time, the great love and affection Mordred held for her king started to burn as hatred. Now, as you can imagine, the secret soon broke out amongst Camelot, and with it, the trust of the Round Table. Artoria set out on an expedition in Rome, and it was in her absence that Mordred seized control of the throne as the leader of the rebellion. Once Artoria returned, Mordred confronted her. Though her actions had led to this rebellion and Mordred expressed her hatred for Artoria and that she felt that she was the only one suited for the throne, deep down all she wanted was the acceptance of Artoria and for her to acknowledge her as her son, to which of course she didn't. This led to the final battle between the two, the Battle of Camelon. Both armies were pretty much wiped out and the knights that stood by the king's side soon died, which left Artoria and Mordred face to face at the top of the hill on the battlefield. The two faced off on top of the Hill of Swords, and Mordred screamed that the country was over and that a victor was now pointless. She asked Artoria if she really hated the son of Morgan that much. Artoria replied that not once did she ever despise Mordred, but the reason she would not hand the crown to her was that she didn't have the capacity to be king. Full of passion, Mordred drove forward in one final attack, but was pierced by the holy spear wielded by Artoria. Mordred's mask broke, showing Artoria a face that was almost identical to hers, and as Mordred fell, she held out her blood-soaked hand to her father and just shouted for her. But even at this point, her wish for recognition was not granted. As well as this, Mordred had a really strong curse bound to her. This caused her to swing her sword once more after her death. This blow dealt a fatal wound to Artoria, and later she would die from this wound. But thanks for watching. This is my video, 5 facts about Mordred or Saber of Red from the Fate series. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more characters from the Fate franchise, let me know in the comments who you'd like to see. Also, don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed this video, as it really does help these videos reach a wider audience, and subscribe for more anime content. Till next time, my fellow weebs, peace!